Hello, my name's Dominic Fonte with Cutler Real Estate, and today I'd like to have a coffee talk with you. Anyhow, so let's talk about real estate. What is going on with this economy? What is happening with real estate? So I'm reflecting on my past 34 years of doing real estate and my personal experiences of rental real estate, helping buyers and sellers go through transitional periods, and what's really happening with supply, demand, interest rates, and what's the market truly doing. And that's what's really hard to get your arms around because you hear all these headlines. And so the goal today is to have a short coffee talk with you in regards to clarification of what's really happening. So there's a lot of outside sources that are confusing, what to do next. So when I think back to leading up to 08 through 13, which was really a huge interruption in our marketplace, that's real estate and stock market. We had in 2005 and 2006, I don't know if you guys remember, but there was a big push on home ownership because they figure if you own a home, you have more of a stake in the community, you take better care of it, you grow your wealth, and you have better opportunities, which is true. But I found that over the course of doing this for many, many years, not everybody's a homeowner. Some people just are renters. They like to rent. They just don't want the responsibility. And so I think when they loosened the standards back in 05, 06, to try to make more homeowners, the American dream, more home ownership widely available, a lot of people bought houses with low or no down payment because they loosened the standards to try to get more people in the game, right? Well, 2005 and 6, if you remember, that was at the peak of the market in buying. And at that time, when you look at supply and demand, unlike today, there were several months of supply of real estate, plus there were a lot more people getting into the market to buy real estate, so the prices were a premium at that time, and the programs were very loose. A lot of times people say, well, they had these no-look loans, limited documentation loans, and the joke always was is if you could breathe in the mirror and make it fog up, you could get a loan, which is really pretty scary. And so what happened was in 05 and 06, when there was a massive amounts of activity and the practices were very loose, then we had interruption. And so when the interruption happened in July of 07, that's when they found that they packaged up some of these loans as good AAA or AA investments. And in fact, they were high-risk loans mixed with some good loans. And so Wall Street got involved because they were trying to figure out ways to make more money. And then all of a sudden, the other shoe dropped. Well, if you remember, we had 7 months of supply of inventory, and a good balance is 5 to 6 months. So we had more than that. So it was really favoring the buyers at that time, and they were just piling into the marketplace with little or no down payment. So when the implosion happened in July of 07, then the stock market in 08, and then the consumer confidence, everything imploded. So the house loans that when you go to the bank to get a loan, it's normally sold to the secondary market. They call it Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae, Ginnie Mae. Ginnie Mae would be FHA or VA. Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae would be conventional loans. And of course, you heard of Sallie Mae if you have student loans, and that's the other dysfunctional family member. So when this all imploded, it happened so fast and furious that 35% of all homes that came on the market that were for sale, either a short sale or foreclosure, which we called a damaged asset. So that means that the people that bought these with little or no money ended up being upside down on their mortgage because they bought at an inflated price in a market where there were a lot of supply, and then the market was like, it's like taking a dive off a diving board. So the people that were living in neighborhoods all across Stark County, some areas got hit harder, their values dropped 25% almost overnight. Now, can you imagine if you bought a house at the top of the market with zero or no money down or a little bit down, and you lost 20 or 30% of value? Now you're upside down to the point where if you wanted to sell your home, you'd have to bring $25,000, $30,000 or more to the closing table, which most people didn't have. So that's why there was an implosion here with people walking away from their homes. Now, if there's a foreclosure, it's not an instant thing. It takes, 1 to 3 years for the foreclosure process to happen. And many times these houses were empty and people were breaking in, stealing the copper pipes. And it was hard to get financing because the secondary market, when everything imploded, they went out of business and the government had to step in and start printing the money to keep this place in business. And I don't know if you remember, but then some of the more conservative older folks got scared, reminded them of the past when there was a run on the banks, and they started going to the banks to take their money out because they got scared. And the FDIC that was insured to 125 quickly went on and said, we're going to bump it up to 250K. So please don't take your money out, because see, the banks were out of sync as well as all the industry. So when this happened, it was really scary because 35% of every home that was on the market was either a vacant, short sale, or foreclosure. Now, short sale just means that they're trying to work with the bank because they owe more than they can sell it for based on the market. And the government stepped in, and I don't know if you remember this, but they dropped interest rates to 3%, and they did all the QE easing. So they dropped many, many millions and billions of dollars into the market to try to stable it up, because this was like a scary thing. And then they came out with the Frank Dodd Act immediately, and they went from loosey-goosey loans to almost impossible to get a loan. So it took a while to find that, that equilibrium again, I guess is what you want to say, that nice balance. So when I went through those 5 years, it was brutal. And so a lot of the people that were upside down on their mortgages, what they ended up doing is since they couldn't sell them, they turned them into rentals because they were trying to buy time because they didn't know what to do. And of course, they shouldn't have been landlords because they weren't landlords, and that caused a lot of problems in some of the neighborhoods. Well, now fast forward to 2015, the market now is starting to kind of get under control. So those 12 months of inventory, there were a lot more homes for sale, better buys if you were in a financial position to buy them. And so now we're all the way down to less than 1 month's supply, which has been the case. We've been between 3 months supply to less than 1 month's supply the last 3 years. So that's why you're seeing a huge increase in appreciation. It's been averaging 18% to 20%, which is really not really sustainable when you think about it. Now, obviously, if you locked into a 3 or 4% interest rate, great. That's a hedge against inflation because inflation's at 8.5, or at least that's what they're reporting. And now the interest rates are on the rise along with food costs, gas costs, and so on and so forth. So right now, we still have a shortage. We have all the millennials coming into the market. We got boomers. We have so many people. And when you look at new construction today, even though there's an uptick in construction, we're still at 1970 levels. That's 50 years ago. So we're just not keeping up with the demand of the population. And so people are frustrated. There's like 5 people for every house. Except for, what do people want? The best location, the best area, the best schools for the best price they can pay. And everybody's paying an average of 100% or more on the sale price, which is frustrating when you're used to getting, a negotiation. Those days are not here at the moment. So now I saw some interest rates today, 30-year fixed rates between 5.5% and 6%, which is 4 months ago, it was like 3%. So that's pretty traumatic and shocking. So what you want to do is you always want to make sure, as you're trying to figure this out, you always want to stay within a ratio of budget. So I would say no more than 36% debt to income ratio on qualifying at the top end for your housing and expenses and revolving credit. Ideally, 28 to 30% is very conservative, and with the affordability right now, it's pushing about 30%. So you just want to be smart and diligent, and there's always those like diamonds in the rough you want to look for. Pick the best location you can afford. You can always enhance the house. I have booklets and a lot of information to give you those little easy tips on what to do to get a better ROI, return on investment. So if you're interested to know more, I know this coffee talk was a little bit long and quite a history lesson, but if you want to know more, there's a lot of information to cover, so you're an informed decision maker moving forward. You can call me at 330-418-1535. That's my cell. send me an email at dominic@dominicfonte.com. If you'd like to see what you'd experience working with me and my team, you can go to dominicfonte.com or Google Dominic Fonte, and hopefully you'll get educated. I have a lot of videos, good information, also a lot of reviews to get a sense of what you would experience, which is important because it's a big decision. You don't want to make a mistake, and there's many of us out there, but I can promise you we're not all created the same. Hope this video finds you well.